So again, we're doing the response phase first, and then we'll go into recovery. So response, we'll go a little quickly through it. A lot of you have, a lot of experience with this, and we've shared a lot of that information already. Sorry, just going back in my notes. Okay, yesterday we talked about staying informed, right? Do you all have alerts on your phones for like NOAA, the weather service, all that? Perfect. Yeah, no? Have you thought, something to look into, right? Getting those alerts. A lot of people mentioned Twitter, having alerts on Twitter as well, for like maybe governor's office, just different entities that you may need the information from. And also just telling your residents, your HCV participants, like, hey, like these are resources you can get information on during the storm. Next one, I'll keep going. So making sure everyone knows their roles and responsibilities. We've discussed this extensively, right? And then having items ready if you already have them in your stockpile, or maybe you can leverage another PHA and say, hey, it doesn't look like you're getting impacted. Do you think I can borrow some supplies? We had people that actually did do that in one of the latest storms. All right, information to communicate to residents. Someone 91? Again, we went over this pretty extensively, evacuation orders, all of that, and knowing where they can, who they can call in emergency as well. For later in terms of funding, we just want to, again, documentation, have all of that. Okay, next slide, please. Right, assessment of business operations. I also touched on it yesterday, knowing who's going to come in. Is everyone available? Maybe not. So just having that backup plan in case things don't go as planned, and you don't have all your staff, you don't have everyone to assist you like you anticipated. Okay, next slide, please. Oh, there we go. So checklists. Does anyone have checklists of like, no? Yes? Okay. Okay, so we will speed through this. Next one. All right, just common questions to think about, right, when you're going back post-disaster. So who is impacted, who's coming back. Next slide, please. All right, immediate after the disaster, you all covered it already. You took action right away as soon as it was safe to do so. And I feel like we can't emphasize that enough. Safety, safety, safety. And we want everyone to be healthy and, just make sure we're taking care of everyone and documenting everything. All right, next slide, please. Okay, partnerships, and we've discussed this extensively already. Okay, next slide, please. Communication methods, again, already discussed extensively. We're going to utilize all those different nuggets of information I use. Say, hey, they mentioned they used this last time, this is what I can do this time. Drills and training, we discussed that as well, right? And maybe next time think of doing some drills and training with your participants, whether it's HCV or your public housing units. And same thing, do an assessment of your housing stock. Okay, we are still going to go through this quickly. Next slide, please. So I'm going to not go into this too much. New Inspire program that was just released. I'm just going to highlight some key dates. I know HUD has not released the full guidelines, so again, we're not going to touch on this too much, but here are these key dates. It was announced, effective for public housing 7/1, and that goal date for HCV is 10/1, but I think, we'll see how that one goes. But yeah, so key dates there just to remember. And I know some people, I think you discussed Inspire yesterday, so just something to keep in mind, right? That new program is made to kind of streamline everything for HUD programs. But again, we're still waiting on those guidelines from HUD for full implementation. Okay, we can skip through these. Yep. I said, again, doing that assessment post-disaster, we're going to take that documentation and hopefully that helps you in the long term. Okay, next one, let's get that one too. Great. Be prepared to communicate your impacts with your local HUD field office. So, lovely HUD officials have let us know that you guys are contacting back and forth right away, right? They're contacting you probably before you're contacting them. Just having that relationship prior, and which sounds like you all do already. Next slide. Okay, there you go. So one key thing too, right, is HUD understands that you just went through a disaster. They're going to only ask you for that important information that they need to know. Maybe you have like a deadline coming up or something with them. They understand that, right? They're going to know, they only need this essential information, and they're going to understand what you're going through at the time. Does anyone have any, we have our HUD in the room. Does anyone have any questions about that contact post-disaster, or maybe anything you need to do like immediately pre-disaster? You guys kind of all have it covered? Yeah, okay. Again, sounds like you all have a good relationship with your local HUD field office. And I think we all touched on this yesterday too. Our residents, they're the most at risk, right? They're very vulnerable, our marginalized groups. They need our help. This is why we're here, is to help them, and hopefully you're in a safe space to, give your best to them, right? All right, next slide, please. Next one. Okay. Sounds like you all have your HUD on speed dial in your phone. You have that constant communication. You're gonna reassess during post-disaster, right? Of how frequent those check-ins need to be. So probably multiple times a day immediately after, and then hopefully as you go on through that recovery process, you determine, okay, once a week, and less frequent as needed. Okay, these are some local resources. Again, we will be providing these slides for you all, and links to everything that we're showing.